Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 6 of the Chel Stars podcast. Today is going to be a good one. We finally have the whole crew together. Myself, Max.
Hello.
Corey.
What's up, everyone?
Kyle.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in.
And Aaron.
Hi, everybody.
It's been a couple weeks since everyone had a chance to come on, but we have an exciting topic to discuss on today's podcast, and how ironic that major moves were made on the day we actually planned to do the podcast. We're going to be talking about Kadri, the Kadri signing to Calgary, the Monahan trade, and a couple other smaller topics. I'll give this off to Max to start us off.
Perfect. Thank you, Mikey. Funny enough, waking up this morning, we had a totally different schedule for this podcast, but we'll pass that off to our next one here, and we'll maybe tease that a little bit near the end here. But we'll start off with one of the biggest fish of the offseason finally signing in Calgary. It was a possibility there. We heard a lot of rumors for a while there. And before I dish off anything else, I want to give a big props to Corey for predicting that. Way to go.
Thank you. And if I may, just let the listeners know, if you want to go back and take a listen to episode 3, is where you can clearly hear me state that Kadri and Huberdeau would be great on a line together in Calgary. So there's the audio if you want to go back and take a look. Thanks, Max.
No worries. So deals, 7 years, $7 million a year. Pretty good value, I would say. There was a lot of talks going in that he would get, upwards of some, first line center money, whether that be 8 to 9 mil, but he finally goes for 7 by 7. So how about Kyle? You were pretty close to him with the Avs. What are your thoughts?
I'm pretty excited for him to be on the Flames, not gonna lie. I think that makes them a crazy strong team, probably a better team. Actually, it'd be hard to say that they're better than last year because Gaudreau and Tkachuk were pretty damn good. But definitely exciting for them on a great deal for the first few years. The last few years will be just a write-off, but I think that'll be the same thing with Huberdeau. So their window is going to be now, including the Lucic contract coming off the books next season. Should be a good one for them.
Yeah, that's a big one to note as well. 5.25 mil coming off the books next summer. But I mean, they're in a win now mode. Most of their squad is getting up there in age, and I mean, a lot of deals pending in the last few years. Markstrom as well, not getting any younger. I'll pass it over to Mikey. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know we talked about this a couple of podcasts ago. We weren't really certain how Calgary was going to do in terms of goal scoring or defense. Obviously, they added Huberdeau and they still have Lindholm and Mangiapane, but they added a fourth person who's great on the power play. He's good defensively. I think he's going to help the team. And like Corey said, him and Huberdeau on the line together, that could do some major damage. Obviously, again, I don't think they're going to, do as well without Gaudreau and Tkachuk, but they added a piece they needed with a great contract.
Yeah, it's a good, great. Corey, how about you?
I love this deal. I think this is a great deal. I think Kadri's in this deal. I think he could have, I'm guessing, gotten more perhaps in New York with the Islanders, but he chose this team. I think he's going to have a great fit on Calgary. I'm excited, kind of like Kyle said, I'm excited to watch them. I like what Calgary's done, going from losing their two best players to bringing in all these new faces. I think maybe not standings wise, but I think they're primed for potentially a deeper playoff run. I really like what they've done, and I think it's raising the bar in their division for sure.
Yeah, the Pacific Division did not get any easier today. Coming as a Canucks fan, I do not like that. How about Aaron? What give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I can basically echo everything that's already been said. I think it's a really good deal. I would say I was pretty surprised to see him go to Calgary. I think a lot of us were expecting him to go to the Isles. So tough day to be a fan of that team, I would think. But I was pretty impressed with the contract, to be honest. I did think that a team was going to overpay him, but I think it was a pretty fair contract for both him and the team going forward.
Yeah, like I mentioned, he could have gotten so much more money, I feel like, but chose almost maybe go for another cup and goes to a division that we'll get into a little bit more detail later on, but will be very competitive in my mind. So obviously with this deal, Kadri signs for $7 million. They're a little bit too close to the cap with that being signed, so they did have to offload some money. And that was done with Sean Monahan, who was a rumor for a while as well that he would be traded. So he finally goes, and he gets traded to Montreal with as like an added sweetener and taking it on that last year of his contract. They get a conditional first round pick, which I'm not even gonna get into what that conditional is because I'm looking at it right now and it's about 300 words long or something like that. I'm not explaining that. It basically, from what I can roughly see, it has to do with the pick they got from Florida in the Huberdeau trade back then. Seems like so long ago at this point. But other than that, I mean, they didn't get anything in return. Future considerations, yet again, comes up a lot. So
this is complicated. It not only, oh my god, you're right. It's like 500 words long. All the different conditions, like what the.
I probably would be able to explain it a little further, but the details of this conditional only got released like an hour or two ago, I believe. Like the whole day I was kind of waiting for it so I could prepare for this, but of course, now that I'm seeing it, there's no way I can even understand that. Maybe during the podcast I'll have a read.
No Cole's notes on those today.
God, no. It's a lot of mentionings of top 10s, so obviously it has to do with the lottery, it being a lottery pick or not. But either way, they're getting a later year pick, which could be interesting depending on how Calgary does in a couple years, whether they will still be competing or not, and whether that pick, possibly becomes like a more valuable asset for Montreal.
Yeah. Like the only other thing I'd want to mention about like this whole situation is this is a very short-sighted move by Calgary. This is the only way that they salvaged their offseason because they were looking like huge losers like the first 3 days of the offseason. So getting
not
Huberdeau,
as bad as the Islanders, though.
Not as bad as the Islanders now, especially. That's even worse when they lost out on Kadri. But they might have won in the long term with not being cap strapped because he's 31 and he's got 7 years left on his deal.
That'll definitely be a rough one in a few years. Yeah. Like.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, within like the next 2-3 years, they're gonna be a team that might be missing the playoffs again with 2 contracts that they cannot move because these players are going to be in their mid 30s.
Yeah.
I see that too, but like their window is now, they're going for it. The opposite would have been re-signing Gaudreau, which is they're in kind of the same salary situation anyways. Yes, Kachuk, they re-signed him. He's a bit younger, yes. Markstrom. They don't really have a lot of prospects coming up. Basically, those long-term contracts aren't great, but they're going to try and win in the next 3 years, I would say. So might as well do what they did.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to our contract talks we've had the last few weeks about all these players we're seeing being signed such long terms in their 30s or so, but you kind of just have to gamble nowadays because you're not going to get a guy like Kadri for anything less than 7 years. So they just have to take the chance and hope it works out.
Yeah, he's hitting, a player like Kadri is hitting the market. and either you go for the chance and you don't, and they went for it. And, like I said, the GM wants to go for it. I mean, I don't know if many of their forwards are going to be getting better, but their defense, they have, I think, Anderson on D who might continue his development. Other than that, they'll still be a solid team. Which crazy for me to think is this Calgary team in essentially 2 years. Giordano is going, Gaudreau, Kachuk, now Monahan. The face of this team is totally changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Identity completely different.
They had Dougie Hamilton has gone too. Like all their face is completely changed. So that happened quite quickly. Normally, I wouldn't say you're bringing in all these high-profile players. Normally, you wouldn't. I would question chemistry or that's not really how you build a team. Things like that. I guess I would still question it, but for some reason, I feel a bit more confident with the way they've gone about acquiring them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a team that's kind of struggled the last few years to make an impact in the postseason, and for a long time they kind of almost needed a full kind of retool or facelift for the organization. They sure did that this offseason, that's for sure. Completely different offense, I would say. They still get that similar tenacity, I would say, from Kadri, similar to Kachuk. So again, as a Canuck fan, not happy. I have to deal with him for 7 years now. And same with Huberdeau. We have 9 years of him, so that's
That's lovely for us.
Lovely.
Yeah, there's a fun question. Who is more painful, Kachuk or Kadri, to be a Canucks fan facing?
That's
well,
yeah. Shout out to Max's dad, our loyal listener.
Nice.
I mean, like he said as well, my dad mentioned, nothing is probably more annoying than seeing Kachuk chewing his mouth guard. I cannot stand watching the TV when that pops up, so
Has just got some shit-eating grin on his face, just staring someone down.
Exactly, so they're both painful to play against, but, in the grand scheme of things, Calgary is going to love having them for their team, unfortunately for us.
I just think it's crazy with the last couple of weeks, all the rumors are rumors, it's set in stone obviously, but there's so many teams mentioned. Calgary was one of them, but I think we all thought that he was going to the Islanders just based on every single article and tweet, whatever we see on social media, and then all of a sudden big news comes in, he signs with Calgary. So I think that's kind of, that's when watch him in the Pacific as well. Canucks play Calgary a bunch of times throughout the year. So as a Canucks fan, it's kind of tough to see, but it'll be exciting games to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the rumors were it was New York Islanders, and then if not that, it was re-signing with Colorado, and then a little bit of talk of Winnipeg and Calgary. So yeah, you can't until it's done. You can't. Nothing's final.
Yeah, I'm curious now if the Islanders did have that same contract with Kadri, but he just decided he couldn't wait any longer, because that has been a rumor for at least the last 2 weeks. It's any minute now that Kadri will be signed, official, but I feel like he just decided he was too impatient to wait for them to do something.
I would personally, guess it could even have been more. And I think he was waiting for a better team to make an offer he could feel like he could accept.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All those rumors, what I get from all those Islanders rumors was okay, they've what's the delay? If he wanted to sign there, he would.
Yeah.
It's not like they didn't have the cap for it. They could have easily signed him, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right? They could have gone much more than that. So, yeah.
Or maybe Lou started playing some games and he's like, I'm just gonna go take this other offer.
Oh,
Yeah, they still have
yeah.
two big defenders to sign, with Dobson and Romanov. So, I mean, you would assume these deals might be pretty soon being done since Kadri's off the market, or they may try to get the
Okay.
next big fish, whoever that is.
Yeah, who is that?
We just saw Kadri in the playoffs. Dude had a pretty nice beard going on. Maybe he looked at Islanders and was like, "Hell no, I ain't shaving every day." Like, and I totally relate to that, man. If that was his reason, I am 100% okay with that because I feel that.
Could be. You'll never know.
Good point.
Yeah, right.
I mean, with that being said, there was also a trade that happened with Calgary and Montreal, right, Max?
Yeah, I mean, I already kind of briefly covered it. I don't think, unless you guys have many other points about it, but obviously, main point being Calgary gets nothing in return, and they sent out a first-round pick a couple years from now, really.
I kind of see it as Montreal just going with the rebuild for a whole nother year, just getting more picks, using their cap space properly, giving their young guys a shot. They're definitely, their window isn't even close to being open quite yet. I mean, it sounds like Price might be out this entire year again.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows how different Montreal will look by the end of the season. They'll probably offload some more people for picks and keep that train rolling.
Mean, they're definitely still in that rebuilding phase. They're acquiring a lot of assets. I can see here they already have 2 first-rounders this upcoming draft. 3 fourth-rounders. So, I mean, and then they got some pretty big contracts they'd like to probably part ways with Josh Anderson. It's been a rumor for a while. So, I mean, they're still, like Kyle said, a couple of years away.
Yep. And you kind of alluded to like the next big fish that the Islanders might go after. Next year, the free agent pool includes Patrick Kane, Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, John Klingberg, Max Pacioretty, David Pastrnak. Like,
That'll be a big one.
it'll be I'm sure 80% of those guys will re-sign with the team that they're at right now, but Tarasenko's not re-signing. I don't see Patrick re-signing.
Yeah, Kane's not resigning.
Kane is not re-signing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we've covered a pretty good topic today with that, so I think we'll move over. So another big news that was a couple days ago is Robin Lehner of Vegas. I believe he was having hip surgery. I could be wrong, but it's already... Okay, thank you. Seems like he's going to be out for... It already reported that it was going to be at least the whole season. Guy who's dealt with a lot of injuries, unfortunately, so that leaves a big hole in net for Vegas. With also Laurent Brossoit having surgery in the offseason, so he might not be ready for training camp. So you're looking at a team that wants to be competitive, and especially after last year, wants to redeem themselves a little bit, but it's going to be tough with no, NHL goaltender, really.
Do they try to trade for a goalie or something? Like, that sounds awful for them.
Yeah, it's probably not what they exactly want right now, because one, there's not the most amount of goalies on the market, I would say, at least right now. And two, they've dealt a lot of assets, so they don't have a lot of futures to get rid of. And
What are we looking at in the goalie position right now? Who are we looking at for them?
Well, immediately you look at the guy who played in the playoffs for him with Logan Thompson. I think he only has about...
Playoffs? What are you talking about?
Oh, no, sorry. To make playoffs, yep, no.
What a troll, Matt.
Yeah, whoops. No, to make playoffs, they had him play down the stretch. Played pretty decent for him, but in total only has 20 games of NHL experience. So
Okay.
Way too green to rely on for a full season, for sure.
Yeah,
Especially not knowing when Brossoit is going to be coming back.
So, I mean, other than that, I can see Michael Hutchinson.
Yeah. Unless they just don't care about making the playoffs, which I doubt is the case.
No, that's not their management style, for sure.
Absolutely not.
My bad.
Their hope and a prayer is just a young guy can get on a run and they can discover someone in the pipes. However, I think they've traded away a lot of their prospects in the pipes, so they are in tough. They're in a win now mode, and they don't even have a backup goalie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they really are in tough.
So there's only a few goalies that really pop in my head. Immediately when this report came out, I saw a few reports. That was quite the sentence. Saying that, like, obviously right now San Jose has 3 NHL goaltenders with James Reimer, Aiden Hill, and Capo Kakinen. So, I mean, division rivals right down the road. So, I mean, that'd be an interesting trade to go through, but that would probably
I would call them rivals.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
San Jose is not really in a place to rival anyone.
Yeah, they have some heated battles still.
Yeah, they're a good rivalry.
Oh yeah, that was
a couple years ago when yeah.
Well, now Kyle, they can be rivals for overpaid teams that suck.
It's quite the battle.
Vegas or San Jose fans listening to us right now.
Yeah,
they'd probably agree with us.
Wow.
If I'm Vegas, I'd probably look at it and be like, okay, whoever's the goalies we have in the system, like, now's your chance. See if anyone can play well in training camp, and then also take a look on the way. As soon as training camp hits, guys are always getting waived, and you can probably pick up a decent NHL goalie. You know, someone like who, you know, the guy that was on Pittsburgh for a little bit.
The Smith or sorry, no.
Like Domingue?
Yeah, a guy kind of like that to kind of fill the hole a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a stopgap solution.
There's always one decent goalie that's thrown on waivers.
Yeah.
And nobody ever claims them, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not that, like, that would be the best option, like.
No, but
same time, what other options do you have? Trading away a bunch of assets for, like, Semyon Varlamov or Casey DeSmith or something like that, but those teams don't necessarily want to get rid of those goaltenders either. So
exactly. So
and I mean, they're probably hoping Lehner's going to come back next season healthy. He has, after this year, 2 more years if he were to return when he's supposed to. So, I mean, you don't really want to commit to another big goalie in a trade right now if he's going to come back and already be in that spot. But on the other side, that's another big surgery for a guy who's already a little bit older. So
that's a big surgery for a big boy. He's not a goalie.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, Lehner hasn't been his best form in probably a couple years now. I see him as one of our future Coyotes. I think
that's a good call.
Unfortunately, I don't think Lehner will be returning. My prediction would be I don't see him returning to form. I think that's a tough cards, and then a guy didn't work out.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe call there.
Yeah, you look at his past few seasons, and he's had a numerous amount of injuries. Even if you look at just this past season, he played 44 games, but that was one of his healthier seasons in recent time. The season before that, he only played 19. That was when Fleury was still there, though. So, but Yeah, it's big surgery for long recovery time as well, so it'll be interesting to see how, how he can recover from there.
Yep.
So I'll probably pass it over to Corey here, because I think he wanted to kind of head the topic here about, we're going to talk about Pacific Division.
Thanks, Max. So, like we've been talking about, a lot's going on. We have huge changes in Calgary. We have the top of the Pacific in the playoffs last year, Edmonton, bolstering their goaltending, making a few changes. Canucks making some changes. Vegas making some D changes. I don't know. Getting worse. I don't know what to say. Anaheim's picking up Klingberg. Getzlaf's retiring. Then we have remind me.
Sorry, I lost track of the teams you're covering there, but
LA, they picked up one or two new additions.
Yeah, Fiala is the big one.
Fiala, right? There's a big one, and they looked. I thought they looked good last year, so I could see them as now a rebuilding team getting better. Anaheim as well has got some good pieces. So where do the Canucks fit into here? Like I think everyone has agreed Canucks got better with their additions, but it seems like every other team did, and only 3 to 5 of these teams are making the playoffs.
Yeah,
right. What do we? Yeah, I'll ask Mike. Let's go to Mikey first.
Yeah. So. So funny enough, myself and Max were out a couple weeks ago, and we kind of made predictions on standings from like division to division. And in the Pacific, I had Vegas first, Edmonton second, the Canucks at third, LA fourth, and Calgary fifth. I'm just going to do the top 5 teams there because they seem to do the most changes and everything. But I'm kind of reconsidering my list now.
Yeah,
knowing that
now that you said that,
knowing that Lehner's out. Yeah, right. Now knowing that Vegas doesn't have a goalie, and Calgary just made another big signing. So I think the Canucks top 4 for sure. But I'm gonna move Calgary up. I'm gonna move Calgary up a little bit. I don't think they're gonna do as bad as I thought they were going to do.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair.
I had in this initial predictions, I think this was before the Huberdeau blockbuster, if I'm correct. I had them 5th, and Vegas 3rd. I'm basically going to completely swap them, so I'm going Oilers, Canucks, Flames, Kings, Vegas, Ducks, Sharks. I believe in my Canucks.
I was going to say, so you think even with all these additions to Calgary, the Canucks will still be able to finish top 2 in the division?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was a little more.
Is that just being biased, or is that just being biased? Or you actually
I mean biased,
the moves
but also
that they made?
Bias and maybe just a lot of hope. I like that we upgraded our forward depth a little bit more. Defense, I'm still very shaky on, but I'm hoping with a full season of Boudreau, it'll make a big difference. And they looked like a changed team in the second half, and I'm hoping they can carry that on into the season. So,
not to mention that I think they're still looking for a right-handed shot defenseman. They're still looking for another guy that can help their D out, because right now they're rocking with Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, the same decor as last year. There hasn't been any changes really for that. I know they want to give Rathbone a big chance this year. They have to. So, I don't know. It's going to be hard to change their decor, though, because the trade market right now is pretty tough. To get rid of Myers, you'd have to pay a lot, but...
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to go too much into just the Canucks here, but we can pass it over to Kyle if he wants to give his thoughts on the Pacific?
Yeah, sorry, I got taken a bit off guard, but I still think the Oilers will be the team to beat in that division. I think when it comes down to it, it'll be Oilers, Kings, and then after that, it's just gonna be so random. Like, it all depends on like how people play, who gets injured, just like the little things between the Knights, the Canucks, and the Flames being taking that third spot, and how's the wild card even going to look? Will the Pacific?
You think LA is going to come top 2?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought they were an awesome team last year. I think their center depth is unreal. Fiala adds a little bit. Could be an interesting season for them, just depending on how healthy their defense can be. Last year they didn't have a great year from them, so yeah, I don't really have too much else to say when it comes to that. I'd love to see Seattle in the mix too. I think their wing depth has gotten unreal, but their center depth, but their center depth is going to be very green. Maybe not next year, but the year after. I think they could make a push. They just got to start getting some better defensemen than they got.
Yeah.
What's Aaron think?
Yeah, honestly, my opinion's pretty close to Kyle's. I think Edmonton is also going to be the team to beat, especially they finally added some more reliable goaltending here, so they've kind of set themselves on a pretty good standard here going into the season. I do think LA could be a solid second. Again, just the addition of Fiala does make them that extra little bit stronger. But after that, if I had to choose right now, I'd probably say Calgary 3, Vancouver 4.
Boo.
But with a couple more moves, I think Vancouver could definitely improve themselves a little bit more still. Just the defense. I don't know.
Yeah. So we talked about there being that roughly 5 of those teams really hunting for the playoffs to be. What do we think about the wild card scenario? Because the Central is not easy as well. You got Colorado, obviously, Minnesota, St. Louis, Dallas made some additions, Nashville as well. Winnipeg's trying to stay competitive, and then we don't talk about the other two. But so where do we see the wild cards, guys? Like, do we see? Because I believe almost last year it was all 5. Well, both wild cards going to the Central. Do we see the Pacific taking back one of those? Maybe.
I would say so. Yeah.
I would predict yes. Yeah. I think.
Oh, go for it, Corey. Sorry.
Well, I would think some of these younger, improving teams like LA, I would agree. Like, they're hungry for a spot. I don't like St. Louis and Nashville. I was surprised at the success they had last year. I would see them as maybe falling off a little bit, but again, it's hard to. All those teams are going to be so close. Like Kyle said, it's going to come down to a few injuries and honestly just how well.
Keep in mind, like, as much as LA gained Fiala, Minnesota lost Fiala. I could see them taking a little step back.
Yeah.
I could see the Pacific taking 2 wildcard spots next year because other than Colorado, St. Louis, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, I don't think Winnipeg will even sniff the playoffs all year. I think Dallas is just going to regress even more as their players get older. Minnesota, such a toss-up. Can somebody move into Fiala's spot and score 30, 40 goals? And then Nashville, I just don't like Matt Duchene, so I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah, it's hard to say. There's always a team that is on no one's radar that does really well, like a Seattle, and there's always teams that don't do as well that we thought.
Yeah, it's gonna be a toss-up like I believe Kyle mentioned, injuries will play a very key part. That always impacts teams every year.
Hopefully not COVID.
That yeah.
Oh yeah.
COVID. Hopefully that can stay away for at least the season for once. I agree. I do. I can see actually both wild cards going back to the Pacific. It'll be a very deep Pacific roster. I like the Seattle pick as well. Wing depth is insane. Center core maybe a bit too young, but I can think they can rebound, and improve a lot. Whatnot.
Yeah. Like I think the only thing that'll yeah, no, it's all good. I think the only thing that'll benefit like the Central Division teams that are in the middle, like Dallas, Minnesota, is going to be the fact that Arizona and Chicago suck so much. So it's just going to be free points all the time.
It's true.
Whereas in the Pacific, I'd say it's a lot more even, like throughout the teams. Even Anaheim, I can see winning on any given night if they're playing amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
You got really only, I would say, San Jose rebuilding in that. I mean, Anaheim rebuilding, but like they're trying to be a little more competitive. So you got, you got 7 teams competing really, who can win on any given night.
So, Canucks make the playoffs? Yes or no, Mikey?
Yeah, I think this is their year. Like, I don't want to be a total biased fan or anything, but again, like Max said, with a full season of Bruce, a couple additions that we made from free agency, we can manage to trade for a defenseman who can help Quinn Hughes out with Demko in net all season. I think they have a really good shot, not just at a wild card spot, but like an actual like proper spot in the playoffs.
Max, yes or no?
Oh, that's a big yes.
Aaron?
I can see it being close, but I do think, yes, they'll pull it off this year.
That leaves Kyle.
You don't want my opinion, Corey?
Yes or no, Kyle? Yes or no?
I think they will be competitive for a wild card spot, and I think they'll get into wild card just based off the fact that it's Bo Horvat and JT Miller's contract years, and they're going to pop off, because why wouldn't they when teams are handing out 8x9s all over the place?
Nice. So we got 5 yeses.
Still waiting for Miller to resign?
Fine, a maybe. I'll be a maybe, just to break your
Yeah,
spine.
I didn't say. I said yes or no. There is no maybe.
There's no maybe? Okay, then it's a yes.
There we
There
go.
we go.
There's no maybe if you make the playoffs.
I never thought I would hear that out of Kyle. You know, at times me and him have went back and forth about each other's teams. I've never thought I would hear that out of his mouth.
It's so funny because when we were working together, like you'd talk about the Canucks so much, I'd be like, I kind of like this squad. Like there's some good players on here. They sound fun. I was kind of getting into it, and then I smartened up.
Wow.
Okay. Then he started bandwagoning for the Avs.
Don't even. I had to put up with you guys' abuse when Blake Como passed behind him on a breakaway. I don't need this bandwagon garbage.
That moment's never going to be forgotten.
That's the
I'm always
worst play in NHL history.
Oh,
Yeah.
It has to be. On like one of the worst seasons of NHL history.
Yeah.
It's the most unselfish play. Okay.
Yeah.
Which
Right.
just
He's not
shoot the
goal
puck a little
man.
bit.
He just wants assists. He's not a
Neither
goal
was
scorer.
the Canucks defenseman standing behind him. So Petey's never been a point per game player. Do you think he is a point per game player this year?
Hey, where did that come from?
Where did what come from?
What the?
What's up with the Canucks?
Come on, we were at a Canucks high. You're not allowed to just come in with that.
You're supposed to answer
Well-
yes. Why even hesitating?
I didn't. Can you say the question again?
Petey has never been a point per game player. Is he
Okay.
going to be a point per game player this year? Full off season, no surgeries.
Yes. he looked great at the end of the year, and will be.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he missed like camp, like a bit of camp or like ton of like camp last season and stuff too, because he wasn't signed, right? I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So I mean, with everything in full swing, like, and if Miller resigns, that Lotto line has to like get going. Otherwise, that's like their top offense. If they can all produce, that'll be a good season for them.
Is he wanting to resign?
I mean, at this point, I think he should. There's no other offers, nothing. I don't think.
I believe so. I've seen little things saying that he wants to, but he also knows what he's worth and he wants to get paid. So.
Sorry, for Miller.
For Miller?
Yeah,
Miller.
You're talking about Miller?
Yeah, we jumped from Pettersson to Miller real quick.
Sorry. Yes.
I can talk. I think that's a whole other topic with Miller, but I would be surprised if he resigns.
Yeah, I just don't want him to walk because that would be not.
You know what? I think that's the most likely scenario. Canucks are kind of in a hard position. Say we do really well. Do you trade him or do you keep him?
Oh man,
right?
Such a tough scenario because say you're having your winning season and you're at the deadline. Like,
exactly.
But
there's not going to be. So here's the situation. They didn't re-sign this summer. They're not going to talk contracts until next. So it's if they were top of the Pacific, if everyone having a career year, they're a dangerous team. They've just had no one's had a career year at the same time. So, but again, that's it's probably going to be a topic all year.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
For me as well, like what's your goal going into next season for the Canucks? To make the playoffs?
Yeah, make the playoffs and go as far as they can. That's going to be it for the next for the next 5 years.
Is their main goal just to make sure that they're building the strongest team possible for the future, just for next season? Like, for me, the ultimate goal is winning the Stanley Cup, and the Canucks are not going to win the Stanley Cup. So, trading JT Miller, if he's not going to re-sign by the deadline, is a must in my mind. Especially with the hauls.
What if they're top of the league, Kyle?
If they're top of the league, different story, but they're not going to be. So,
They could be top of the Pacific. It's not that unlikely.
starts with top of the league, now it's top of the Pacific. Oh, they might be the top Canadian team in the Pacific.
It's not unlikely. You have to consider everything.
They might be the top team in the Pacific Northwest. Should they still trade him?
No,
That was sarcastic. That was sarcastic, guys. Pacific Northwest? You were Seattle? Yeah. I think, trade him. Because Giroux got a haul last season. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I could only. I would have only imagined to see what that Miller trade would have been, a couple months back when he was probably at his highest. But right now, I don't know what it would be like. It better be a right defender, though. That's all I'm saying.
Also, a deep run could be more beneficial to their current core than a first rounder that's not going to play on the team in 5 years.
True.
Are you saying that the Canucks window is the next 3 years?
I'd say 3 to 5, but I'd say 3 to 5. I'm saying going on a deep run, potentially third round with Miller, could be more beneficial for this team than a 20th overall first round pick.
You could argue that.
Right? Like that is an argument. So
Yep. Anyways, that's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could talk about the Canucks for hours, so maybe we should just pause that discussion for a little bit here. Any final comments from the group before we end it today?
That was a pretty good discussion, and glad to have everybody back, finally.
Yeah, feels good.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with some...
Ready?
Sorry, Corey, you go ahead first.
It's gets me ready for more debates with Kyle. I'm already
Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, unfortunately, a little bit of bad news to end it off here. We will not be back next week. We're going to be a little bit of a hiatus here, but just over a week from now, we will hopefully be back with another big group for our next episode. The good news is we're getting a little bit closer to the start of the season here, so we will be starting to talk about some more fantasy discussions, which I know is a favorite topic for a lot of people here, so that'll be pretty interesting to get into. As always, thanks for listening, everybody. If you want to follow our Instagram at ChelStars, go give that a follow to know exactly when our episode's going to drop. And other than that, we'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.